Good morning, grade 5s, and welcome to our geography lesson. In my previous lesson, I spoke about weather, climate, and vegetation of South Africa. I said weather is the condition of the atmosphere for a particular place at a particular time, and climate, on the other hand, is the condition of the atmosphere over a long period of time. We also spoke about vegetation, and we said that vegetation are the plants that we find in a particular place, and these are affected by our weather and climate. So today we're going to be looking at weather elements, but before we do that, I want us to answer the following questions. How hot or cold is it today? Okay? Depending on what time you're going to be doing this, answer that question. Is it hot or cold today? Is it raining today? Are there any clouds in the sky? I want you to look up and check if there are any clouds in the sky. Is the wind blowing? I know at times it's not easy to feel whether the wind is blowing or not, but the best thing to do is to look at the leaves of the trees. If they are moving, then there is a bit of wind, and if they are not moving, then there's no wind. Okay? When you answer these questions, you are actually describing the weather by using weather elements. Okay, what are weather elements? Weather elements are the different components or parts that make up weather. They are those different things that we put together in order to come up with a description of weather. Okay, there are four weather elements. There are four elements that make up weather, and these are temperature, wind, cloud cover, and rainfall. Okay, so today we're going to be dealing with temperature. And temperature describes how hot or cold the air is. On a cold day, for example, temperatures are very low. And on a hot day, temperatures are very high. And we use a special instrument called a thermometer to measure temperature. So, there is our thermometer, there is our other thermometer there. So on a cold day, the temperatures are very low, and on a hot day, the temperatures are very high. So this thermometer is used to measure how hot or how cold the air is. And inside the thermometer, which is the instrument that we use to measure temperature, we find a liquid called mercury. Mercury is actually a metal which is in liquid form at room temperature. And when it's hot, the mercury which is inside this bulb here, it expands and pushes its way up the thermometer until it reaches the temperature for that day, and it stops there, so that you are able to read the temperature for the day. And when it's cold, that same mercury, which has expanded up to this point, is then pulled down. It contracts and it's pulled down back to the bulb, and it will rest where the temperature is. So for example here, if it was hot the previous day, the mercury will be right at the top. Once we start, it starts getting cold, the mercury starts to contract and is pulled down the thermometer back into the bulb, and that's why we end up with very low temperatures. So it will move down until it reads the correct temperature, so that when you check the temperature, you find that your mercury maybe is somewhere there to show that the temperatures have dropped. Alright, so now that we know that the instrument called a thermometer is used to measure temperature, let's see how these work. Okay, we measure temperature in degrees Celsius, and this is the unit measurement that we use. So if our temperature is 10 degrees Celsius, we are going to write the 10 before this sign here. So let's look at these three thermometers. You see that there is a degrees Celsius there and a degrees Fahrenheit on the other hand. In South Africa, we do not use Fahrenheit, we use Celsius. So every time you get a thermometer, please make sure that you're reading on the Celsius side. Can you see that there's two gradings here? One on this side, one on the other side. So for the degrees Celsius, this is what you are reading. Degrees Celsius, this is what you are reading. Degrees Celsius, this is what you are reading. If you are using Fahrenheit, like America, for example, those people will not read on the degrees Celsius side, but they will read on the degrees Fahrenheit side. Okay? Degrees Fahrenheit side, degrees Fahrenheit side. So we don't use that, so we don't read on that side. Let's look at the first thermometer. The first thermometer says the temperature is -5 degrees Celsius. So we come here. Remember, we always start from 0. But then this one is below 0. So which means that it's minus. Alright? So below 0 we start counting. -5, -10, -15, -20, and so on. So if you look at this blue mark, it's on -5. That's why this thermometer is reading -5 degrees Celsius, which means it's very cold. Remember, the lower the temperatures, the colder the place. Alright, then we move on to the second one. And the second one is saying it's 20 degrees Celsius, which is quite warm. And there is our 0. We start reading. Okay, and then it's up to here. Remember, we read on this side, which is 20 degrees. If you had to read on the other side, this would be about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. But we don't use Fahrenheit, so we read on this side, which is 20 degrees Celsius. And then it's quite warm. Then our third thermometer is recording 40 degrees Celsius, which is very, very hot. Okay, there is our 40 degrees Celsius. But then if we're reading on this side, it's about 100 and something degrees Fahrenheit. We're not interested in Fahrenheit, we are only interested on this side. So 40 degrees Celsius means that it's very, very hot. Considering the fact that the average human body temperature is 37 degrees. And our water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. I'm sure you can see it there. Hey, this is boiling water, and that's 100 degrees Celsius. Our water freezes at 0 degrees. There. Once we start having snow and other things and our water is freezing in the freezer, it means that we've reached 0 degrees Celsius. So, this is how you read your temperature for the day. You use an instrument called a thermometer, and inside the thermometer you've got a special liquid called mercury, which is actually a metal, which is liquid at room temperature. And when it's hot, the temperature rises. It expands and it rises along the glass tube until it measures the temperature. When it's cold, the mercury contracts and it's pulled down towards the bulb, and you read the temperature where the mercury has stopped. Alright, so this is how temperature is recorded, and temperature is one of our weather elements. You have a small activity to do today. I want you to write a sentence or two describing the temperature in your area right now. Wherever you are, describe the temperature in your area right now. You can use any of the words below. Very cold, cold, cool, mild, warm, hot, or very hot. Alright, so this is the end of our lesson on temperature. Tomorrow we're going to be looking at another weather element. Okay, I hope you understand these weather elements. I'll see you next time. Have a good day. Goodbye.